Hello and welcome to the Grumpy Sound Guy Show. I am your host, Mr. J.R. Everhart, the Grumpster himself. This week we are going to talk about something that I don't think near enough people spend time talking about in any circles, really. And it's something that's extremely important to have any level of measurable success inside the music business. And that's really about ego, and how you treat your fellow bandmates, how you treat the people who are working for you or with you, and just your overall, workability kind of personality. You know what I'm saying? So it's the sort of thing where I'm going to tell some stories about some people that I have heard talk about this in clinics, and it's just super super important to really have your head in the right place if you're going to make it in this business. Even if you're just trying to make a living at it, maybe you're not trying to be the next Keith Urban or whatever, but maybe you're just trying to make a living. Your attitude and people's desire to want to work with you and the rapport that you have inside your community of musicians and production people are as important as anything that you bring to the table. So stick around. You do not want to miss a second of today's show. Hey guys, if I can have literally 60 seconds of your time here just to ask you to please subscribe to the channel. It costs absolutely nothing to subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you can help us give you more of this content on the free side of the channel. Also, if you're really digging what we're doing here and you're digging the Grumpy Sound Guy content, please consider joining the membership side of the YouTube channel. It costs about $5 a month, so about the price of a Starbucks cup of coffee or whatever. You can become an inner circle supporter of the Grumpy Sound Guy and the content that I'm putting up. We'll get all kinds of really cool one-on-one live chat stuff in there, group chat stuff, all that sort of thing. Plus, you'll get content that is posted there that will never become public, So make sure you get over there and check that out. And thank you for supporting everything that I'm doing here with the Grumpy Sound Guy. Okay, welcome back. Welcome back. So, ego, attitude, your workability, all that kind of stuff. I just want to kind of use myself as an example here because I've always said that I'm not completely useless. I can be used as a bad example. When I come out of high school, I was kind of a hot shot drummer. One of the most in-demand drummers in my area. Really had an ego, really didn't realize that I was a big fish in a very, very small pond, kind of mentality. And I'll never forget when I started playing in the DC Baltimore area, because I grew up here in the outskirts of the metro area in West Virginia, so this was a much different musical scene and climate than what it was 90 minutes down the road in Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. And I'll never forget the first time I played a gig down that way with other bands and started attending some open mics and, things like that. I got my ass handed to me quick, you know what I mean? I realized real quick that I was nowhere near as good as I thought I was, and I had some lightning, in those days. And I was really, I really had a good starting place to become a really good, solid professional drummer. So bumping into these other guys that were so much better than me, and being in an environment where you're striving to be on their level really, really helped me. But the first thing I did was humble myself. The first thing I did was just take a big old piece of humble pie, excuse me, and yeah, just kind of became a sponge. You know, I was one of the youngest guys on the scene in that city circuit. I had a fake ID to be able to play clubs. I really wasn't that necessarily worried about drinking and all the other stuff. I just wanted to be able to get into clubs and play clubs. So I remember when I turned 16, I drove to Georgetown and got a fake ID, and you know that's how I was able to play major nightclubs at 18 and 19 years old, right out of high school. I walked away from a bunch of music scholarships to actually go chase my rock and roll, fantasy, my rock and roll dreams. Um, I don't necessarily regret that because I'm really a blue collar guy, so college didn't really appeal to me, in that sense. I did make it into the Marine Drum and Bugle Corps. I do kind of regret that. I probably should have went into the Marine Corps and should have done that. If there's any mistakes that I do regret or bad decisions, that's probably one I should have done. But hey, you know what? We live and we learn. And had I not went through all the heartache of being on the road and having your dreams crushed and not making it, it led me to the production world, to where maybe the Marine Corps Avenue may not have done that. Who knows? That's a crystal ball question. But the point of all that is that, man, I just had to really, learn to shut up and listen, you know what I mean? And become that sponge, become, that guy who was just trying to, make his way into the music scene, in one way, shape, form, or another. I was not, I was not well versed in how things worked in the city. I was green as grass on a lot of different levels because I come from a very sheltered Christian, family. And yeah, I had a lot to learn, to say the least. Because I humbled myself and just tried to be someone who was willing to work and to break a sweat and to do whatever it was going to take to at least be in the circles of conversation of the people that I wanted to be playing music with or working in the music business with. That opened doors for me. It really did. People wanted to work with me because I was willing to learn and because I was a hard worker. Really, the only thing I brought to the table at that point was just a really strong work ethic and a strong back and able to just do whatever it is that you wanted to get done. I was always early everywhere we went. I was always Johnny on the spot, and I tried to be someone that people could depend on. And that was the foundation of what became a very long and is now still a long, lucrative career in the music business, So there's something to be said for all that jazz, man. You know what I mean? You can't get anywhere in this business, if you think that you know more than the guy standing next to you. Even if you do, the way you approach that situation should say a lot about who you are as a person. You know, Arrogance gets you nowhere. Confidence is fine. Confidence and arrogance kind of look the same, but they're coming from a different place in your heart. Confidence is just being secure and knowing your skill set. Arrogance is kind of trying to shove your gifts and your talents down everyone's throat around you. I was at the Modern Drummer Festival in New Jersey many years ago and was listening to Sean Pelton talk about, getting the drumming job with Sheryl Crow. And he said, it was a cattle call kind of, audition, framework and that sort of thing. And he's like, man, there's so many other drummers that are way more talented than me that are up for this gig. So, there's something to be. Ryder has now got up and decided to start moving. That's my dog. Every time I start a video, like he'll sleep all day until I start a video, and then he's going to start playing with squeak toys and stuff. So just bear with us. If you hear a little background noise, it's not aliens trying to break into our rehearsal space here. It is my 81-pound house hippo. So anyway, Sean was saying, yeah, man, there was so many other cats that were up, for this gig. You know what I'm saying? So many other guys that could have done the job better than me. But he said, you know what? At the end of the day, you got to spend 6 months on a tour bus with Sheryl Crow. And that's kind of how he got the gig. He's an easy guy to get along with. He's fun to work with, has a great sense of humor. He's diligent about what he does behind the drums. So that makes a huge difference as well. So, yeah, that's how he got the gig, man. So there's something to be said for, being humble and keeping your attitude in the right place. I run into, especially these guys, and I hate to keep picking on these guys that are just coming right out of school. And really, school is probably more to blame for this than the guys themselves, because I think sometimes these educational, entities kind of pump these guys full of sunshine and tell them that they're the cat's meow and they are the greatest thing since sliced bread. And then they get out here in the real world and realize that they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. It's like, most of them cats come out of school thinking that they're going to have some kind of white glove gig, just walking into an arena somewhere with 20,000 people and going to do nothing but just sit behind a console and mix the rest of their life. And, that's not the case. Like, none of us production company owners need people who can mix. What we need is people who can do everything else. People who can be good system techs, who can drive trucks, who can set up and tear down systems in an efficient manner, who knows what they're doing inside of those systems that they're setting up and tearing down, who isn't going to embarrass them in front of the client. I've had some of that stuff, and with the growing pains of building my staff is guys don't realize that the client's standing 2 feet away, and you're dropping F-bombs and acting like a fool, and it really kind of makes me look bad. You think I'm going to keep you on the job if that's the case? No, man, your attitude is everything. You got to be someone who is easy to work with and someone who's humble and teachable, especially if you're coming out of school, because you're coming out of school and you have zero networking going on there. You may have a couple little connections that you got through your school time from your professors or whatever, if they're plugged into the scene. You can maybe get that going for you, but to really get plugged into the freelance world and to get plugged into making a real measurable profit, measurable living in this business is going to require you to sell yourself. And listen, I'm going to sit here and take a big old, dose of my own medicine in saying that when I started the Grumpy Sound Guy persona here online, it was, it created some challenges because everyone enjoys watching me, lose my crap over this issue or that issue, or calling people out on this issue or that sort of thing. But what it does is it communicates to people that I'm someone who's hard to get along with, that I'm someone who is hard to work with, and that sort of thing. And if you talk to my clients, they will tell you the exact polar opposite. The Grumpy Sound Guy is just an online persona that we are using to say things that bands, club owners, booking agents, and production guys have wanted to say for decades, and no one's had the guts to stand up and say, here's the truth of our business. Here's the truth of our industry. If you're a band that can't draw people, then don't be bellyaching and complaining about how you're not making any money. If you're a production company whose systems constantly fail show after show after show, then don't be complaining when that client calls me or calls somebody else. I'm not the bad guy in that situation. I'm not the one that made your system, take a dump. But, being the guy who is online almost every day talking about these things, it was a huge speed bump. I mean, on the verge of being canceled, to some degree. We definitely lost business over, my being online, telling the truth about our industry. Now, here we are 3 years later, and we are slowly starting to overcome that. I believe in the content that I'm putting up here with you guys, and I kind of looked at it like the people that I'm losing who think that's who I am are probably people I don't want to work with anyways. So that's kind of what that is. And if you're really that sensitive that you can't understand that this is just online content, and really what I'm saying is usually true anyways, then maybe you need to take a look in the mirror and you need to check your attitude and your level of arrogance. I know for a fact some of my competitors have used the Grumpy Sound Guy against me when bidding on jobs that I am bidding on as well. I've had clients come to me and tell me, hey, you're the guy down the street, came to me and told me, hey, if you want to work with this guy, just get online and look at some of his content online. He's a real SOB, and you might want to think twice about working with the guy. You talk to the clients that hire me year after year after year, and they'll tell you that that's not the case. But I understand why you can get that that perception, because that's kind of the perception the Grumpy Sound Guy is built on. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's who I am. So I go out of my way to try and kill my clients with kindness, and try to be someone that people want to work with, and try to be someone who is part of the solutions of the objectives and the problems that are setting in front of us, instead of part of the problem. I am not the guy who sits around and just belly aches and complains about all the negative stuff in every situation. That makes for great online content because it drives the numbers up and people love hearing that sort of thing. But it does not do me any favors in being the actual person standing in front of you executing the gig. So yeah, so I mean, it's been a hard road to hoe, just trying to move forward with these sort of things, and the online stuff, and the challenges of the economy. It's been very challenging. Let me just say that. But the reality of it is my clients usually call me back year after year after year after year. I will occasionally run into a Karen or a Chad who thinks that they know what I do better than me, and we may have a little bit of friction that way. Because as I always say, I'm not going to be in a great mood when you're trying to screw me. And if I have a client that's asking me to do things that go against safety protocol, or I'm trying to explain to them things they may not understand about what we do, and they give me friction on that, then you're probably not going to be a client that I want to work with anyways, because you are trying to create an environment that someone's going to get hurt, or it's going to be a situation where I'm going to get stuck, where I'm going to have to put out a bunch of money to make up for some kind of issue you have caused because of your viewpoint as to how the gig should go. I'll give you an example of that. I bumped heads with someone one time about, it says in my contracts that if our stage and our equipment trucks get stuck, on your job site, on your field or wherever it is that you're having your festival at, then it's your responsibility to pay for the wrecker, the tow trucks, and the recovery stuff that it's going to take to get out of there and to clean our equipment, because it's not our fault that your job site is a mess, or if it rains in the middle of the festival and becomes a mess. In that scenario, I usually try to meet them halfway because it's not their fault. But if I'm standing there saying, look, we just did a gig 2 miles down the road last year where it rained the whole time, and it took 2 days and 3 wreckers to get everybody off the job site. So we might want to think about where we put the stage today, because it's been raining for 4 days. And then if you stand there and give me a hard time about that because you think that you know your job site better than me, when I can walk the job site and tell that it's that it's soft, and there could be some issues here. Maybe there's not going to be any issues. My crystal ball is broken, but just know that if we go off the curb here and go onto your site, your work site, then whatever recovery issues that are going to come up is going to be on you. Because I'm telling you now, this could be an issue. We did the event. Thankfully, it didn't rain anymore, and after being there for 2 days, the ground did dry up some, and we just barely got on and off site without any major issues. And because of that, then the promoter wanted to come kind of shove that down my throat, that she knew better than me. She knew her job site better than me, and I really had no right to have the concerns that I had about that. And I once again reminded her that last year, 2 miles down the road from where we were at, we had an absolute nightmare of a scenario. You got lucky. You got lucky that it didn't rain anymore, because it was calling for more rain. You got lucky that it didn't rain anymore, and you got lucky that, we didn't have issues here. This had nothing to do with your ability to wave a magic wand over the sky or the ground and make it not be muddy and make it stop raining. This had to do with the fact that you got extremely lucky. We had a little bit of a tiff over that. Hey, look, that's just the way the cookie crumbles, man. I'm out here to protect my interests the same way you're trying to protect your interests. But, I'm never going to be in a good mood when you're trying to screw me. I'm never going to be the guy who's just going to roll over and say, oh, okay, to every little tiny thing that you want to do that is going to put somebody in harm's way or going to, hurt my equipment in some way, shape, or form, Like, I have to protect my interests the same way you're trying to protect yours. Having the right attitude in those scenarios is really what makes and breaks you. And even in that challenging scenario, I tried to be as straight up and as kind about my point of view as I could. The problem is the person on the receiving end wanted absolutely no sort of accountability for what could happen and did not want to entertain anyone else's opinion as to how this was going to play out. Now, that's all fine and good until something goes wrong. And then when we're sitting in court and you're having to be legally held accountable for your decisions and your actions, you're going to look at the judge, you're going to point at the contract, and then you're going to point at me and say, he was the on-site expert. He's the guy that made the decision. They will scapegoat you every single friggin' time. You got to remember that. So in this whole conversation about ego and trying to make it in this business, you have also got to have the conversation of, hey, man, we have the right to protect our interests, and you're not being a jerk by doing that. Because when push comes to shove, they're going to blame it all on you anyways, because you're the expert. They're going to say, oh, I'm just the head of the homeowners association. I don't know anything about the entertainment business. He was the expert. They're going to completely deny the fact that they stood there and put you under pressure to put a band back on stage while there's still lightning around, to put you in a compromising situation during setup where the ground is not solid, to be able to set up a stage and to be able to do things in an orderly manner, in a safe manner. Dude, there's two sides to the story. You know what I'm saying? There just is. So, on one side, man, we got to try to be people that people want to work with. On the other side, we got to be people who are protecting our interests. And understanding that balance between the two is really what is going to make you successful in this business. You're never going to make everybody happy, okay? No matter who it is. You're never going to make anybody happy. We have an area here in the Mid-Atlantic that is probably one of the richest counties on the East Coast. And they are the hardest. The people who do events in that county are some of the hardest people to deal with. They will nickel and dime you to death. And these people have more money than, they know what to do with. And we'll have events that are putting 4,000 and 5,000 people at the events and still nickel and dime you to death and want to change how they're doing things 1,000 times before you get to the gig. You know what? I've come to the conclusion in my life that, you know what, sometimes I'm money ahead to just not even take that business, because if you're going to cost me, what little bit of profit margin I have trying to jump through your hoops because you want to change the plan every 10 minutes, leading up to the event, and you're costing me time and money in my own schedule to service other clients, then you're not really doing me any favors. And let's be honest, most of these people don't give a rip anyways. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They want what they want, and that's all they want. So there has to be a balance between those two things, and you just got to know, you know, who to stand up to and who not to. And man, that is tough. That is tough. It's hard to figure that out. I try to be as easy to work with as I can and as gentle as I can. Look, I'm 6'2" and 335 pounds, man. I'm an intimidating looking guy. I got tattoos, the goatee, all this stuff. I look like a biker. The thing is when I come to the table, I have to be very conscious of my body language and how I'm communicating with someone, because they will get the wrong impression even when I'm trying to say something positive. So it's it's all part of the game, man. And trying to play this it's like being on a seesaw going up and down, and you try to do what you can do, and it's kind of like what Patrick Swayze said in Roadhouse. He's like, we're kind and we're nice until we can't be kind and nice anymore. And I try to make my contract as detailed as I possibly can, so that if the client will actually read the contract, it will put a lot of these things to bed before they even sign the contract. The problem is a lot of people get these contracts, they don't read them, they sign the contract, and then a week before the gig, they want to change the rules of everything. And it's like, man, we're under contract here. This is the way this has to go. And the things in the contract are there for a reason, to make the event flow in a healthy manner, a safe manner. I'm all about safety, man, and that sort of thing. And people just got to understand that, especially when you have weather situations. Like, if it's the week of the show and it's calling for rain the 3 days that you're going to be at this festival, and ticket sales are down, and they're calling you and they're wanting you to kind of give them a break on price, or they're exploring how they can cancel the gig. According to my contract, once we're, under that 30-day window, man, you're on the hook for the entire, price of the event. We will come out, set up, and do the event in the rain as long as it's safe. We'll play playback music. We did a wine festival a couple years ago, 3 days worth of bands. We didn't get one band off because there was a hurricane that was coming through the area, which I say hurricane, it was a tropical storm by the time it got to us. There wasn't any wind. It was just a steady downpour of rain for 3 days, and we went and set up the day before the rain started, flew audio, and we did playback music the entire weekend, because they had big tents set up for people to be able to sit under and drink wine and to do that sort of thing. It was kind of a bummer of an event. The bands were there ready to go. We can't put people on stage because we don't want anybody to get electrocuted. But, I kept a positive attitude through the whole time. The booking agent was right on site there with us. We were positive with those. We were positive with the event promoter, and we had a good event. We took lemons and made lemonade, and we did the best that we could do with that scenario, and it came out really, really decent, as good as it possibly could, considering it rained all weekend. Thankfully, the promoter had some protocol in place on his end with ticket sales to where he didn't lose his rear end on it, and that sort of thing. And we were able to, get off site without any issue, and stuff like that after it rained for 3 days. And, we made the best of it, man. We just really did. So having that positive attitude really goes a long way when you're working with people who are also understanding the facts, understanding what the deal is, and, everybody's kind of working together. So, if you're trying to break into this business in any degree, then you should really think about your client's experience. Or if you're freelancing, you need to think about your boss's experience. And this is a lesson that I learned a few years ago from my marketing guy, is to be focused on the client experience. I want my clients to have a positive experience with me. Now, I can't make everybody happy all the time, but I'm trying to make as many people happy as I can. So I am constantly trying to look at the event from the client's perspective. I'm trying to look at the event from the band's perspective. If it's a band that's hiring me, I try to give the band everything that I can give them. I try to be Johnny on the spot about everything, you know. And that changed how I did business when I started looking at the events that way. It changed how I structured things, even when I was trying to protect my own interests in a situation that maybe had some questionable things going on. I still did not disconnect from that. What is the client's experience here? How are they viewing this situation? What are the obstacles and the objectives that they have to overcome on their end? And let's show some mercy and grace toward that, and let's be a team player here and try to help them reach their goals to the best of our ability without putting safety in question and without damaging any equipment. So that went a long way, and I think even if you're a freelance guy, you got to kind of think about that. What is the guy who's writing your check? What is their experience in this? If they are calling you to cover an event and they get some negative feedback from the client about your performance, and he reaches out to you to try and help you be better the next time around, don't be offended when he calls you out on your mistakes. It's not personal, man. It's just business. I just had a very productive conversation with one of my guys in that exact scenario today. And I came to the table with the right attitude. I said, hey, look, the client contacted me. They said this, this, and this. I'd like to bring you in for some more training and, help better equip you, to service this client in a manner that they're used to. The guy's new to the situation. He's new to the system. He's new to the organization, and the organization knows that. They were very kind about sharing their concerns. I was very kind about sharing my concerns with him, and he came back with an apology and came back with the right attitude. And I said, hey, look, man, I said, it's not really a big deal. It's not the end of the world. This is all part of the learning process. I'll just bring you in on a day that I'm there. And we will do a lot better moving forward. And it's my desire to equip you with the skills that you need to be able to go do these things that I need you to do in an efficient manner. I benefit nothing by being a jerk to the guy. I benefit nothing by yelling at him and scolding him and belittling him and making him feel less than what he is. I mean, where does that get me? That just creates a toxic work environment that this guy doesn't even want to be part of. In fact, the guy just left a company that had that kind of situation going on, and I know he doesn't want to be in another company with that kind of toxic work environment. So I'm here trying to make people better to the best of my ability. Now, obviously, there's limits to all that. Don't mistake my kindness for weakness, but at the same time, man, I have everything to gain by equipping you and making you better at what you're doing than what you currently are. I have no issues sharing all of my knowledge and information with you as we move forward, as we work together, as you slowly climb the ladder, at CLP Audio and Staging. Your attitude is going to greatly dictate my desire to want to pour into you. Does that make sense to you guys? Because it really should. Your teachable attitude will always ignite my desire to want to pour knowledge and wisdom into you. And I think that's just the way the business works all the way around. It's kind of a running joke, with some of these national bands. Like when I work with national country artists, most of the time, those are some of the easiest people in the world to work with. I'll tell you another group that's like that, and that's the heavy metal group. The guys, I just recently did a job with a touring B National metal band who were just sweethearts, man. They were wonderful to work with, absolutely wonderful. And I can't say that. In fact, at the gig, I remember telling my number two, my stagehand for the day, I was like, I said, and he does a whole bunch of stuff with me, and I'm like, it's pretty sad when the hard rock metal guys are easier to work with than what most of our usual cover band clients are. And look, don't get me wrong, we have some really good, easy to work with cover band clients. But when we get on these festivals and we get on these summer concert series and stuff, we have no control who we work with in those scenarios. So we do 100% run into some egos, along the way. And these guys were absolute sweethearts to work with, man. They were easy, spoke the language, monitor stuff went quick, sound check. Well, in fact, we never even did a sound check. I went up and rang out monitors and did what I felt like they needed, and it was there right out of the gate. Had a wonderful show. I don't think I made one monitor adjustment the whole show. When you come to the table with that positive attitude and with that teachable spirit, or even just a humble spirit, and dude, I do the exact same thing. Especially when I get around my pro touring buddies who are way further up the ladder than I am, and a lot of them guys are half my age. I shut up, dude. I shut up, and I try to pay attention to what they got going on. I'm a middle market guy, man. I'm not a pro touring guy. I mean, I could be if I wanted to be, but it's not something that I desire in my life, especially at this season of my life. But you know what, man? We all got to eat the crap sandwich sometimes, and we all got to eat the humble pie, and we all got to, adjust our attitudes accordingly, because at this stage of the game, what else do we have? Talent only goes so far. And I'll be honest with you, and I tell my young guys that work with me this all the time. People work with me more because they like JR. Yes, my skill set, brings a lot to the table, but at the end of the day, they would rather work with someone that they can love, and then they could knows a team player. Like every band that I work with, I want to be part of their team. I want to be part of their family. Some of them guys I vacation with, and stuff like that. I mean, we have those kind of relationships, and I love those guys with all my heart. Do anything in the world for them. If they call me and need a financial favor on a gig that doesn't have a lot of a budget, guess who I am falling over myself to help out? It's the bands that treat me right, because they'll make it up somewhere else down the road, and it's all good, dude. One hand washes the other in that scenario. But you know what? It says a lot when you got people standing in front of you who have every right to have an ego because they're stars, and they're humble and they're easy to work with. And then these other guys who are weekend warriors and treat you like dog water because they think they know everything and you're an idiot, and they constantly talk down to you. Those are the guys that I typically do one show for and then don't answer the phone anymore. Or when they ask for, open dates, I'm booked. I'm at a place in my life where I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. We are secure enough in what we do, and I'm super happy and thrilled with the clients that we have. And we're always looking for new clients. Don't get me wrong. Always looking for an opportunity to earn your business. But at the same time, I'm just not spending a lot of time with guys that are hard to work with. I just don't want to do it. So I'm answering the phone less and less every day in some cases, because I just don't have the emotional dexterity to jump through all the drama hoops that it's going to take to make that happen. So I hope this helped you guys. I kind of feel like maybe I just rambled a little bit through this, but it's a big subject that comes from a bunch of different directions, and I'm trying to hit all those different directions and give you real world examples of how A good attitude can really get you somewhere, and a poor attitude can really rob you of opportunities that you really, really need. And believe me, I've had some of that too. You know, my mouth has gotten away. My short temper has gotten away in some scenarios, and it's cost me business. But you know what? You learn from the experience, you pull up your bootstraps, you keep moving forward. So, love you guys. I'll see you next week.